All right, hello. Welcome to my YouTube channel. It's quite a while that I actually posted. I had some things going on personally, and I needed to take quite a while from posting on YouTube. Hopefully, going forward this year, we should do a lot of weekly breakdowns. I think I'll be doing some sort of daily breakdown as well as time goes on, maybe twice a month. I mean, twice a week or three times a week. So you want to turn on the notification bell for that, such that whatever I do on the weekly outlooks, we could also refine it when we begin to see much more price action during the week. All right, once again, welcome to my YouTube channel. This would be my outlook going into next week. It promises to be some sort of eventful 2 weeks going forward because we have a lot of data and fundamental releases that would be coming forward. The the most important one would be the interest rate decision by the Federal Reserve. I think it's in 2 weeks' time, so we should expect some sort of volume between now leading up to that decision. Anyways, let's see what we have going forward from now. This is the yearly chart. It's not the Bitcoin chart. It's the yearly chart, as you can see. And I needed just to also mention that we shouldn't get carried away with the bullish price action for now. Let's say this was a 30 minutes time frame, for instance, and we are breaking below support. Wouldn't you more than likely want to see this week to be filled? Or would this week be a rejection week? It depends on how this candle will close. If this closes like a bullish candle, creating a support this month, which would come to an end in a week or so, I believe, then this would have been a rejection week. But for now, there is nothing that is saying that this could not still basically just be the top week for the year or something like that. Okay, so what I'm saying in essence is we shouldn't carry away with the bullish price action we see on the lower time frame on the global picture. This candle is still really scary because it's the first time that will be breaking below this yearly support. So if by the end of the year we find ourselves back at parity, it shouldn't be a surprise, but that's a long term play anyway. But what I'm seeing currently is that price is trying to encroach above this previous support on the yearly time frame, and it would be a very important level for the analysis going into this week, I believe. And the next support on the yearly time frame that we could see some sort of reaction or rejection from is around 127,500. So let's just note this as the yearly support. Okay. So I'll move straight to the monthly time frame as well. So you see how that support level, you know, coincides with this area and this area as well. So yeah, on the monthly time frame, we are currently bullish. The most recent price action and momentum is bullish. Okay, so there's really no sales yet. So we are looking at the upside, only that we are tapping into this previous yearly support level that we could see some rejection from if we begin to hold resistance on the weekly time frame. But that's just a long-term play. I just wanted to note that we shouldn't get carried away with this bullish price action. If you just look at the yearly time frame, it's really scary, and the year can still find its way to fill this week down the line, right? So on the monthly time frame, it is what it is. We are pushing up. We could easily fill this week next week. On the weekly time frame, however, all right, another thing that I wanted to bring your attention to, of course, basically, like I mentioned, the most recent price action is bullish, right? We are holding higher support on the weekly time frame. However, we are also tapping into this resistance zone on the weekly time frame. So for this bullish nature to be continued, I would like to see support holding above this level. I'll talk about that when we look at the 4-hour time frame. But another thing we should also note going into this high volatile week or high volatile next 2 week is that we are currently trading at a weekly resistance, even though we are pushing to the upside. So what I'm going to do is to also note this resistance level on the weekly time frame, which is this resistance right here. So we call this the weekly resistance. All right. Then what I'm going to do is to call these two levels like a zone, because they are really, really higher time frame levels. We should don't disregard them, so to speak. Okay. So this is this zone, or between these two levels, would be highly reactive and will be highly important. Okay. In any case, we are pushing to the upside as it stands, and the next level of resistance on the weekly time frame is right here at 126,300. So this would be some sort of targetable area. So we call this weekly resistance slash target. By target, I mean it's an area where price could easily be drawn to, because basically, if we break resistance and we hold support, we should either be targeting the most recent resistance or the next resistance on the higher time frame. And if price finds its way below this resistance area, remember this is a very important area. It will be very reactive either to the upside or to the downside. So we can also find our way back to this weekly support. Okay, so the it will not be out of place if we see some sort of candle that prints this way next week, where we continue to push up and we only tap into this zone, possibly to grab liquidity and to continue up. That will be what I'll be anticipating, since we have closed strongly above this resistance area. This is some sort of liquidity grab from the downside, and we are seeing bullish momentum. So as long as we stay above this level, meaning we don't trade below and hold resistance below on the lower time frames, then I would only be primarily considering buys just based on the technicals that we have. And the technicals that we have is a breakout trade on the weekly time frame as it stands, where we are currently pushing up. And now we have broken above resistance. So what you want to see is some sort of pullback, I mean, textbook to retest this level, for instance, or not deeper than this support. Okay, as long as we maintain the integrity of this bullish nature, I mean, we should still see some sort of upside if we can hold above this level, or this level, which translates to this and this. Okay, so again, we have looked at the yearly time frame and the weekly time frame and noted that this zone, or this between these two levels, is a higher time frame level and to be highly reactive. In any case, the technical price action we have is a breakout trade where we have closed above resistance. If we hold above the resistance or begin to break the high of the previous candle, we could see a quick move to the upside to reclaim 126,300 area. And the pip distance between here and here is already 270 pips going into next week. So if we look at this on the daily time frame, you see how price is rejecting this yearly support and also not trading below this weekly resistance. Then we also have this resistance on the daily, which we also need to pay attention to. So basically, we could remain in this range so that we pull back and continue to range, leading to FOMC, I believe, in 2 weeks' time. Or we break out above here. We can also hold support above here and continue the trade going to 126. Excuse me, going to 126,300. All right. Selling will be a bit tricky because the previous weekly candle really closed strongly bullish. However, if at any point price begins to get trapped below this level and we begin to not trade above, then one could consider some sort of sales to retest this previous level of support on the way down. I will primarily be considering buys based on the technical breakout and some fundamental outlook really. For instance, it is anticipated that the Fed will not increase the interest rate in the same pace that it did last year, where they were just aggressively increasing by 75 basis points. As it stands, 50 basis between 25 and 50 basis points are currently being priced in. If that is the case, although it's a hike, but the market is reading that as some dovish tone from the Fed because it's not as high as though it's counterintuitive anyway. But you don't need to stress about that. Technically, we have broken above resistance on the weekly time frame. If we can hold above this level, meaning if we can hold support above this level, I would only be primarily looking for buys. Also, if we close above this resistance, I would also be looking for buys to the upside. Okay, do we have anything to the left on the daily here? Yes, we are at this level of support that could act as some sort of reaction area, and we also have this level of resistance. Okay, but in any case, we'll be trading the most recent price action, create target, hold support, and to continue up. All right. So on the 4-hour time frame, this is how it looks. So you see how price is already showing sign of holding this level as support. Okay, as as long as we trade above this zone, I would only be looking for technical breakouts to the upside, some sort of pullback to look for buys, and so on and so forth. So primarily, I'll be looking for buys next week. I'll be conservative on the sell up option only if we can hold strong resistance below this zone, meaning we break back below this level and begin to hold resistance below to trade it back to the most recent support and to the next targetable area. So there's a difference between target creation and targetable area. So target creation will be like the most recent price action we would be having next week, but the targetable area will be previous price actions that previous level of support or resistance as the case may be. I know I'm ranting a lot, but what I'm saying is I'll be primarily looking for buys as long as we hold above the support level. So looking for buys means breakout buys, pull back to retest the highs, and so on and so forth. So that's what I have going forward for pound USD. Pound JPY is quite interesting on the daily time frame. I've started analysis on the daily time frame, and what I can see is that we are currently in a range. Okay, we're currently in a range between this level of resistance and this level of support. Right, so price is currently within this range. If we trade above this resistance, then we can correct this impulsive move to the downside due to some news from the Bank of Japan. Otherwise, you can basically trade this range from the top to the bottom, or from the bottom to the top until something breaks. Okay, primarily I'll be looking for buys as well, because we had the BOJ coming out last week, or yeah, this week that just finished. They still did not increase the interest rate. They still keep bond purchases on. They are still buying bonds, meaning they are still making their monetary policy loose. So basically, Japanese yen is still weak because of the decisions that were made recently. In my opinion, I'm not a financial advisor, but what I've seen is that if they keep buying bonds, it keeps weakening the Japanese yen, and if the UK gets its act together with the budget tightening and stuff like that, then we should see some upside for pound JPY. But currently, price is in a range, and the range is about 400 pips. So you need to learn to trade a range in this current scenario. If we don't break above this resistance or do not trade below this support, then on the 4-hour time frame, okay, you want to see some sort of change of structure from the upside if you're going to be selling. So meaning if we push up, and hold support. If you begin to break support, then any pullback to retest that support, then you'll be looking at the previous targetable area. Okay. And the same thing for buys. If at any point we find ourselves trading at this price, first you want to need to see resistance being created, then that resistance being broken before start looking for buys. Okay. Or the safest option would be you wait for this to break, wait for some sort of pullback and confirm this level as support. If we can hold that level as support, or if we can hold a higher level of support, then we could retest that high and more than likely correct this impulsive move to the downside. Okay. So to wrap up this video on pound USD, I'm primarily looking for buys as long as we trade above this level of resistance. On pound JPY is quite interesting because one could argue that we could sell from this level of resistance, but for that you will need a change of structure to the downside on the 4-hour time frame. Then you look for entry on the 30 minutes time frame, in my opinion. And primarily, I would really consider further continuation to the upside. Okay, just because Japanese yen is still weak as it stands, and yeah. So if we can break above this level, that'll be fine. If we find ourselves trading back below at this level of support, one could also consider change of structure to the upside to see if we can correct this move or not. In any case, this is a huge range to trade within, which is 400 pips. So I believe within the sessions, you could also find a trade either ways within this range. Hopefully it doesn't get messier as the range, because the more it ranges between this 400 pips, it gets messier. This the level of support and resistances get closer to each other and stuff like that. So that's also not out of the card because there's a lot of uncertainty, especially around the Japanese yen and stuff like that. So I mean, the current chairperson of the BOJ is stepping down in April, I believe. So we don't know what the new person is going to come up with. So maybe that's why we are ranging, but it's a 400 pips range too. So you could position yourself correctly during the sessions and stuff like that. But I'll primarily be focusing on pound USD for some further upside if we hold above 123 500. I've repeated this over and over again, and it's becoming boring now. Okay, so hopefully as we continue during the week, I would update this outlook if we get new price action. Stay safe and trade safe. Cheers.